Hello everyone, welcome to Asian Gate Academy. So we are discussing the convection in flow through pipes, and in last class we discussed convection in flow through pipes and we learned how to balance the heat. But in convection through pipes there are some boundary layer equations also similar to the convection in flat plates. So in this class we will discuss the boundary layer equations for flow through pipes or through any conduit. The boundary layer equation will be same for flow through pipes and for conduits. So similar to flow through flat plates, there will be also two cases. First one will be laminar and second one will be turbulent. But from our heat transfer point of view, as in turbulent flow the mixing is good, so heat transfer effects are more. So turbulent flow is more preferred in heat transfer. So let's see turbulent flow first. So we will see the boundary layer equation in flow through pipes or through any conduit and when the flow is turbulent. In case of turbulent flow, this boundary layer equation is given by Dittus-Bitter equation, right? So the equation is, it is the name of scientist who gave this equation, Dittus-Bitter equation, right? And similar to the equation that we got in flow through plate surface or plates, we will get an equation of Nusselt number, and this Nusselt number here is equal to 0.023 into Reynolds number to the power 0.8 into Prandtl number to the power n. Okay, so this is our Dittus-Bitter equation. So whenever he has given a question on convection in this pipes or any conduits, you will use this equation if the flow is turbulent, right? And this PR power n, so what is the significance of n? Let's see. This n value will be 0.4 if the fluid is getting heated, right? So if the fluid is getting heat from the pipe and its temperature is increasing, that means if fluid is getting heated, then this n value will be 0.4. But if the fluid is getting cooled while flowing in this pipe, then n value will be 0.3, right? So n will be 0.3 when fluid is getting cooled. Okay, and we know how to calculate this Reynolds number. This Reynolds number will be equal to rho V into D by mu, right? So in case of pipes, we will use this formula, and for any conduit, we have seen if there is a flow through any conduit, then we take the equivalent diameter. So L will be equal to equivalent diameter, and this equivalent diameter is given by 4A by P, right? Where A is the cross sectional area and P is the perimeter. So this is for pipe, and if you are writing for conduits, then Reynolds number will be rho V into D equivalent divided by mu. Okay, where this V is the average velocity. So all the concepts are same. V is the average velocity. Okay, and what will be this formula of Nusselt number? So Nusselt number in case of pipes, it will be H into D divided by K, all the properties of fluid. So K is also for fluid, and for conduits the Nusselt number will be H into D equivalent divided by K fluid, right? So this is our Dittus-Bitter equation, and this is how we can use it. Okay, so whenever the flow is turbulent, then we have to use this equation. So we have seen the equation of boundary layer in case of pipe flow for turbulent flows. So when can we consider the flow is a turbulent flow or a laminar flow? Let's see that. So if you have to identify whether the flow is turbulent or laminar, you will say the flow is turbulent if the Reynolds number for that flow is less than 2000. Okay. So for turbulent flows, this Reynolds number should be greater than 4000, and for a laminar flow, the Reynolds number should be less than 2000. Okay, so you have to remember these values, and before solving the question, you have to identify whether the flow is turbulent or laminar, right? These values were different for flow over flat plates, right? For flow over flat plates, this value was 5 into 10 power 5 and this value was 2 into 10 power 5. So if Reynolds number was less than 2 into 10 power 5, then we said the flow over flat surface is a laminar flow, and if it was greater than 5 into 10 power 5, then we said the flow over flat plate is a turbulent flow. But values are different in this flow through pipes or conduits. So this is valid for pipes as well as conduits, flow through any conduit. Okay. So whenever Reynolds number, if you are getting greater than 4000, apply the equations of turbulent flow, and if you are getting Reynolds number less than 2000, then apply the equations of laminar flow, right? So now let's see the boundary layer equations in laminar flow. So we have already discussed this turbulent flow. Now we are going to take this laminar flow. So in laminar flow, there are two cases. Either there can be a uniform heat flux. So in laminar flow, there are two cases. First one can be a uniform heat flux, that we have seen how a uniform heat flux can be in the pipe. So if there is a solar radiation direct falling on the pipe, or if you are winding some wire, current carrying wire, then that can also result in uniform heat flux. So this is case 1 inside this laminar flow, and case 2 is when there is a constant wall temperature. Okay, so this is constant wall temperature, right? And in this case of uniform heat flux, see, there is no equation in laminar boundary layer, there are just values. So in case of uniform heat flux, the value of Nusselt number will be 4.36. Okay, so you just have to use this value. So if they are giving that there is a flow through a pipe or a conduit in which laminar flow is occurring and there is uniform heat flux, the Nusselt number you already know, it will be 4.36, right? So you have to remember this equation. Now coming to this constant wall temperature case, there are again two sub cases. Okay, first one is a fully developed flow. So these things you will study in fluid mechanics. I'll just give you an overview what is a fully developed flow. And second case is slug flow. Okay, so what is the meaning of this fully developed flow? Let's say there is a pipe and inside it some flow is occurring, right? And we have discussed the phenomena of velocity boundary layer or hydrodynamic boundary layer. So let's say some fluid enters this pipe at a velocity v, right? So as this pipe is fixed, this is not moving. The moment these fluid particles will come in contact with this pipe surface, the velocity of fluid particles will become 0 close to this pipe surface. So here the velocity of fluid will be 0. Let's say u is the velocity of fluid at any location r. So let's say this is our r. So here u equal to 0 and here also u will be equal to 0, right? But as we move farther from this surface, the velocity of fluid will gradually increase, right? So this will be some velocity profile. Okay. So this may be some velocity profile for this fluid, and at the radius equal to 0 means at the middle the velocity is 0, velocity is maximum, I am sorry. So at r equal to 0, this u is equal to u max, right. So these things you will study in fluid mechanics, I am just giving you an overview. So this is the variation of velocity profile. At r equal to 0, the velocity of fluid will be maximum, and at r equal to, let us say, capital R, the velocity will be equal to 0, right, because of the no slip condition. So same case that we have discussed in plate also, flow through plate or flow through flat surface, right. But what happens due to inertia effects and viscous effects, this velocity profile gradually develops itself, right. So let us say at this location this velocity profile was like this, then somewhere farther in this pipe this velocity profile may be like this, right, because it is trying to overcome the inertia. But a point reaches after which this velocity profile is constant, it will not change. Once it has overcome the inertia, this velocity profile becomes constant in nature, right. So after this length, this velocity profile is constant or similar. So with respect to x, this velocity profile is not going to change. So this length in which the velocity profile was getting developed, this is known as entrance length. Okay, so this is entrance length, and this length where this has been already developed and it is not changing with x, this is known as fully developed flow or fully developed velocity profile. So this is fully developed, right. So in question, if he is giving that there is a flow through pipe and there is a constant wall temperature and also the flow is fully developed, then you have to use this value of Nusselt number, which is equal to 3.66, right. So in this case Nusselt number will be 3.66. Okay. Now the second case in constant wall temperature is a slug flow. So what happened in slug flow, there is a flat velocity profile, right, or we are not considering the variation of velocity with respect to radius. So if we take this kind of velocity profile where the velocity is not changing with respect to radius and also it is not changing with respect to x. So it is a constant velocity profile with respect to radius as well as with respect to length of this pipe. So this kind of flow is known as slug flow, and for slug flow we have the value of Nusselt number as 5.78, right. So it will be 5.78, correct. So these are the Nusselt number values in case of laminar flow. So there will be three cases. This is first one, this is second one, and this is third one. So these three values you have to remember. See, sometimes in GATE examination he will give you these values or he will give you the Nusselt number equations, right. But in case if he is not giving, then you must remember these equations to be on a safer side, right. So in case if he is not giving the equation or values, then also you can solve the problems. So this is about the laminar flow. So if there is a uniform heat flux in laminar flow, you will use this value. Nusselt number is 4.36, and we know Nusselt number is equal to H into D equivalent in case of conduits, and if it is a pipe, then we will take D only divided by K fluid, right. So by seeing the case itself, you know the value of Nusselt number. So by putting the Nusselt number here, you will easily get this H, right, heat transfer coefficient. Now we will solve a problem of convection through pipes or through conduits. So it is a GATE problem. He has given an uninsulated air conditioning duct of rectangular cross section 1 meter into 5 meter, carrying air at 20 degrees Celsius, velocity of 10 meter per second, is exposed to an ambient of 30 degrees Celsius. Neglect the effect of duct for air in the range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Data are as follows. Conductivity is equal to 0.025 Kelvin. Viscosity is 18 micropascal second. Prandtl number is 0.73. Density is given as 1.2 kg per meter cube. Is given the laminar flow Nusselt number is 3.4 for constant wall temperature conditions, and for turbulent flow it is Nusselt number equal to 0.023 Re power 0.8 PR power 0.33. So he has given laminar flow Nusselt number also and turbulent flow Nusselt number also. So it is your responsibility that you have to identify which kind of flow it is. Is it a laminar or is it a turbulent? And accordingly you have to use the equations. So in this question he has already given the equation. Right, then first part of question he is asking the Reynolds number for the flow is. Okay, so he has given 4 options, and in second part he is asking the heat transfer per meter length of the duct in watt. Right, so this is a very important problem, and in this problem he has already given the Nusselt number equations, but he has given 2 Nusselt number equations, 2 different equations, one for laminar, the value is given, and one for turbulent. So first of all we have to identify which kind of flow is it. Is it a turbulent flow or is it a laminar flow? Right. So how can we identify which kind of flow is this? By calculating the Reynolds number, and for calculating the Reynolds number also you are getting the 2 marks. It is a 4 mark question. So first of all we will calculate this Reynolds number. Right. So let's read the problem once more. So he has given an uninsulated air conditioning duct of rectangular cross section 1 meter into 0.5 meter. So there is a duct which is having a rectangular cross section. So let's say this is the cross section of duct, and this is 1 meter, this is 0.5 meter. Right, so duct will look like this. Okay. Right. So he has given the cross section as 1 meter into 0.5 meter, and it is uninsulated. So heat transfer can occur. Now this is carrying air at 20 degrees Celsius. Right. So inside it is carrying some air, and temperature of air is 20 degrees Celsius. Correct. Then he is saying the velocity of this air is 10 meter per second. So he has given the average velocity of this air which is flowing, and velocity is given as 10 meter per second. Then he has given the ambient, it is exposed to ambient, and the ambient temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. So it is exposed to some ambient, right, and ambient temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. Now he is saying neglect the effect of duct construction material. For air in range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, data are as follows. So thermal conductivity is given as 0.025. So let's write down the values. It is 0.025 watt per meter Kelvin. Viscosity is 18 micropascal second. So this dynamic viscosity is given as 18 micropascal second. So if it is given in micropascal second, we have to convert this in pascal second, right? The SI unit of viscosity is pascal second. So this mu will become 18 into 10 to the power minus 6 pascal second, right? Now he has given the Prandtl number as 0.73. So this PR is given as 0.73, and the density is given as 1.2 kg per meter cube. Right. So our first job is to calculate the Reynolds number, which is the first part of this question also. Right. So let's calculate this Reynolds number. So Reynolds number formula will be rho into V, which is the velocity, into D equivalent, because it is a conduit, right? It is a rectangular conduit. So we will take D equivalent in place of L divided by mu. Correct? Now let's calculate this D equivalent value. So this D equivalent we know it is 4A by P, right, where A is the cross sectional area, P is the perimeter. So for this rectangular cross section, what will be the cross sectional area? It will be 1 into 0.5, right? The multiplication of two sides will give the cross sectional area, so it will be 1 into 0.5 divided by what will be the perimeter? It will be 2 into 1 plus 0.5, right? Just we have to sum all of these sides, so it will be 1 plus 0.5 plus 1 plus 0.5, right? So we can write this down as 2 into 1 plus 0.5, correct? Now this 0.5 can be written as 1 by 2, so it will become 2 divided by 2 into 1.5, it will become 3. So we are getting the D equivalent at 2 by 3, and 2 by 3 can be written as 0.67 meter, right? So D equivalent value is how much? It is 0.67 meter. Now let's put all the values here in this Reynolds number equation. So density we already know. Density is 1.2, velocity is 10, D equivalent value is 0.67 and mu value is 18 into 10 to the power minus 6. Right, so calculate the Reynolds number from here and you will get the answer as 4.46 into 10 to the power 5. So from here you will get this Reynolds number, and Reynolds number is coming as 4.46 into 10 to the power 5, right? So this is our first answer. So answer is matching as answer C, option C, right? And this is our answer. But in the second part we have to calculate the heat transfer per unit length, and to calculate heat transfer we must know the heat transfer coefficient, and to calculate the heat transfer coefficient first we will calculate the Nusselt number. And for Nusselt number we have two equations, for a laminar flow, for a turbulent flow. So from here we have to make an observation, is it a laminar flow or turbulent flow, right? So I have told you, if the Reynolds number is greater than 4000, then we can say the flow is a turbulent flow, right? And here we are getting this value as greater than 4000, so it is a turbulent flow, correct? And now for turbulent flow he has given the equation. What is that equation? So now we cannot use this Nusselt number is equal to 3.4, right? This is of no use to us because this was for laminar, but our flow is turbulent, okay? So this is of no use, we will not use this equation. So the equation that we will use for Nusselt number will be 0.023. So he has already given the equation, 0.023 into Re power 0.8 PR power 0.33, right? So this is the equation that he has given, right? And when he has given the equation, obviously we have to use that equation only. So put the values here. So Reynolds number we have already calculated, 4.46 into 10 to the power 5. So Nusselt number will become 0.023. Reynolds number is 4.46 into 10 to the power 5 to the power 0.8 multiplied by PR. Prandtl number is given as how much? 0.73. So it will be 0.73 to the power 0.33. Right? So from here you will get the Nusselt number and value you will get as 685.6. So Nusselt number will be 685.6. Right, and it is dimensionless, so no unit will be there. Now we have got this Nusselt number and we know the formula of Nusselt number is what? It will be H into D equivalent divided by K fluid, right? So D equivalent we already know it is 0.67, K fluid value is given to us, it is how much? 0.025, this is for fluid, right? This is for air. So from here you can calculate this H value, it will be 685.6 multiplied by Kf divided by D equivalent. So it will become 685.6 into Kf value is 0.025 divided by 0.67, right? So when you calculate this, you will get this value. So I am writing it here. So this H value from this equation you will get as 25.58 watt per meter square Kelvin, right? So we have calculated the H value, and now what he is asking? He is asking the heat transfer per meter length of the duct in watts. So what will be the formula of heat transfer? It will be H into the surface area through which the heat transfer is occurring multiplied by temperature difference, which is 30 minus 20, correct? Now what will be the surface area for this? See, the heat transfer will occur from all these surfaces, right? So how can we calculate the surface area? It will be perimeter multiplied by length. So Q will be equal to H value is 25.58 multiplied by area of surface area will be perimeter P multiplied by length into 30 minus 20 will be 10, right? And what is perimeter in this case? Here we have calculated the perimeter. It is 2 into 1 plus 0.5, which will be 1.5 into 2 means 3. So 3 meter is the perimeter, and we have to calculate this heat transfer per unit length, right? So here also it will be per unit length, or in place of length you can write 1 itself. So this heat transfer per unit length you will get as 25.58 multiplied by perimeter is 3 into temperature difference is 10. So this Q value you will get as 769 watt per meter. Per meter, because we are calculating this per meter length, right? So I am writing here also this Q value finally you will get as 769 watt per meter. Okay, so which option is matching? The D. So answer will be D, right? So this is how we solve the problems of convection. Let's solve one more problem. It is a conventional type problem. So water is to be from 15 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius, and it flows through a 3 centimeter internal diameter and 5 meter long pipe. An electrical resistance that provides uniform heating throughout the surface of pipe. Under steady state operation, all the heat generated in the heater is transformed to water or transferred to water. If the system is to provide hot water at the rate of 10 liter per minute, determine the power rating of heater and also estimate the inner surface temperature of pipe at the exit. So density is given as 992.1 kg per meter cube. Specific heat is 4179 joules per kg Kelvin. Prandtl number is 4.32. Thermal conductivity is given as 0.631 watt per meter Kelvin, and kinematic viscosity is 0.658 into 10 power minus 6 meter square per second. Okay, so it will involve many concepts. So try to solve this problem. You can pause the video and try to solve this problem. So let's solve this. This question involves many concepts. So he has given there is some water which is flowing through a pipe, right? And water is getting heated from 15 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius. So let's say this is our pipe, and in this pipe water is flowing, right? So water enters at how much temperature? He has given that water enters at 15 degrees Celsius. So inlet temperature is 15 degrees Celsius and the exit temperature is 65 degrees Celsius, right? It flows through a 3 centimeter internal diameter. So this diameter of this pipe is given as 3 centimeter and length of this pipe is given as 5 meter. correct? Then it's saying it is equipped with an electrical resistance that provides uniform heating throughout the surface of pipe. So from the surface of pipe there is some uniform heating due to this electrical resistance, right? Under steady state operation, all the heat generated in the heater is transferred to the water. So whatever heat that resistance is generating, all heat will get transferred to this water. Now he is given the flow rate of water is 10 liter per minute. So let's say it is V, the volume flow rate, or let's say V dot. Okay, so volume flow rate is given as 10 liter per minute, I guess, right? Yeah, it is 10 liter per minute. So he is saying determine the power rating of heater and also estimate the inner surface temperature of the pipe at the exit, right? So the exit temperature of water is how much? It is 65, but he is asking the temperature of surface of this pipe at the exit, right? And it is a uniform heat flux problem. So this Q flux is uniform, correct? Okay, so how can we do this? See, first of all, he had said that whatever heat is getting generated by the electrical resistance, that is going to this water only, right? So whatever total amount of heat that will get generated, so Q generated in this wire, it will go to the Q heating of wire. So Q gain for water, right? So somehow if we can calculate this Q gained by water when this temperature is changing from 15 to 65, that will be equal to the Q generated in resistance or that electrical wire, and asking that itself the power rating of the heater. So if we can calculate this Q generated in watt, it will be the power rating of heater, right? So let's do that. First of all, let's write down all the given values. So density is given as 992.1 kg per meter cube. Specific heat of water is given as 4187, right? 4179 it is given joules per kg Kelvin, and also he has given the Prandtl number, it is 4.32. Thermal conductivity is 0.631. So K of fluid is given as 0.631 watt per meter Kelvin, and nu is given as, which is the kinematic viscosity, it is given as 0.658 into 10 power minus 6 meter square per second, right? So these are the given data. So first of all, we will try to calculate how much heat this water will gain when its temperature is changing from 15 to 65, right? And that heat gain by water can be given by m dot, which is the mass flow rate, multiplied by specific heat of the water into dt, temperature difference, which is 65 minus 15, correct? And we have been given this volume flow rate, correct? But we want the mass flow rate, correct? So what will be mass flow rate? See, we know this density is equal to mass per unit volume. So this can also be written as mass flow rate divided by volume flow rate. This dot it for rate. So mass flow rate divided by volume flow rate will be equal to density. So this mass flow rate will be what? It will be density into volume flow rate. Okay, and this volume flow rate also will take in meter cube per second, right? The SI unit will be meter cube per second. So this volume flow rate, which is given as 10 liter per minute, convert this into meter cube per second, so it will become 10 into 10 power minus 3 divided by, in 1 minute there are 60 seconds, right? So this will become our volume flow rate. And when you calculate this mass flow rate, then you have to multiply this total value, the volume flow rate, with density, which is 992.1. Okay, so from here you will get the mass flow rate put the value of mass flow rate here. So this mass flow rate you will get as 0.1653 kg per second. Okay, so this will be the value of mass flow rate. Put the value of mass flow rate and specific heat, temperature difference you already know. You will get this heat transfer as, the rate of heat transfer as 34.5 watt. I'm sorry, this will be kilowatt. Okay, so 34.5 kilowatt you will get the heat transfer. So this much heat the water is gaining when its temperature changing from 15 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius. And from where this heat is coming? This heat is coming from the resistance, the electrical resistance that is used. So this heat transfer will become the power rating of this resistance. So this power rating of resistance will be nothing but 34.5 kilowatt. Right, so this is our first answer. Now he is asking the temperature of pipe at the exit. Right. So for temperature of pipe at the exit, we know the formula. Say this is Ts and this is T mean at exit. Right. So these things we have discussed in flow through pipes. This temperature, whenever you have to calculate this temperature of surface of this pipe, then you will use this formula. Heat flux is equal to convective heat transfer coefficient multiplied by Ts minus T mean at that point. So we have to calculate this at exit, so it will be TSE minus TME. Getting this or not? जब भी हमको ये टेम्परेचर सरफेस का निकालना है एट द एग्जिट, तो हम ये फॉर्मूला यूज करेंगे, हीट फ्लक्स इक्वल टू H इंटू सरफेस टेम्परेचर माइनस मीन टेम्परेचर ऑफ फ्लूइड. राइट, so this will be Q equal to H TSE minus TME, and because we have to calculate this surface temperature at exit, we will take the mean temperature at exit. Right, so here TSE we have to calculate, TME we already know it is 65, this H is unknown, this Q also we know. Right, what will be the value of Q? We know it in kilowatt, and this is heat flux, so kilowatt divided by meter square, so it will become our heat flux. Right, and to calculate this heat transfer coefficient, what we have to do? We should know the Nusselt number. From the Nusselt number we can calculate the heat transfer coefficient, and first of all we should know the equation of Nusselt number. Okay, so this is the first part of question. Let's come to the second part of the question. So in second part we have to calculate the surface temperature, and for that we need heat transfer coefficient. So now we already know how to calculate the heat transfer coefficient. First job is to calculate the Nusselt number, and to calculate Nusselt number we should know the equation of Nusselt number, and for that we have to identify whether this flow is laminar or turbulent. So we will calculate the Reynolds number to find out if the flow is laminar or turbulent. Right, so Reynolds number will be what? Rho V into D divided by mu. But here we are given with this kinematic viscosity, so it will become V into D by nu. Right, and has he given this velocity of fluid? He has not given. Right, he has given the volume flow rate, and we know this volume flow rate is equal to area into velocity. Right, so this you know from the knowledge of fluid mechanics, discharge equal to area into velocity. So area of this pipe you already know, it is the cross sectional area, pi by 4 into d square, d is 0.03 square multiplied by this velocity, and it will be 10 into 10 power minus 3 divided by seconds, right? 60. So then you will get this velocity in meter per second. So calculate the velocity, you will get this as 0.2357 meter per second. Okay, now calculate the Reynolds number. Density you already know, velocity you already know, d is given 3 centimeter and new value also you know, right? So when you calculate this Reynolds number, you will get as 10746.2. Okay, this is our Reynolds number. And in case of pipe flow, we know if Reynolds number is greater than 4000, then it is a turbulent flow, right? So here we can say this flow is a turbulent flow. Now this is all the routine procedure, right? You have already learned this, just you have to practice. So this is a turbulent flow. Then what is the equation of turbulent flow through pipes? When the fluid is getting heated, see this water is entering at 15, exiting at 65, so this is getting heated, right? So the value of N in that Nusselt number formula will be 0.4. So let's write down the Nusselt number formula. It will be 0.023 Re power 0.8 PR power 0.4. Right, so this is our Nusselt number formula. You already know the value of this Reynolds number, it is 10746.2. Prandtl number is given as 4.32, right? So you can easily calculate this Nusselt number and it will be equal to 69.33. Right? And what is the Nusselt number formula? It is H into D divided by K fluid. D value you already know, it is 3 centimeter. Kf is given as 0.631. So calculate this H value and heat transfer coefficient, you will get 1458.25. And the unit will be watt per meter square Kelvin. Right. So by this analysis, we have calculated this heat transfer coefficient value. And now we will use that heat transfer formula and we will try to calculate the surface temperature at exit. So that formula is heat flux Q will be equal to H into TSE, E is the suffix for exit, minus TME, which means the surface temperature at exit minus the mean temperature of fluid at exit. Now how can we calculate this heat flux? We already know the rate of heat transfer, right? It is 34.5 into 10 to the power 3 watt. So if you want to calculate heat flux, it will be per unit area. So divide this with pi by 4 into d square. So d value is 0.03 square. So this is the value of heat flux. Now it will be equal to, as we have taken this heat transfer in watt, so this H will also be in watt. So it will be 1458.25 multiplied by TSE minus TME is 65, because the mean temperature of water at exit is 65 degrees Celsius. Now there is only one unknown, the surface temperature at exit. So calculate this and you will get this as 115.2. Okay, so the surface temperature at exit is 115.26 degrees Celsius. So this is our final answer. So this is how you solve the problems of convection. Okay, so till now we have discussed the forced convection, in which the Nusselt number is a function of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. So in forced convection, the Nusselt number was a function of Reynolds number Re and the Prandtl number, right? And we know this Reynolds number is a function of fluid velocity, correct? And if Nusselt number is a function of Reynolds number, that means we are considering this velocity of fluid, right? So in forced convection, we consider the velocity of fluid because we are forcing the fluid to flow. by means of some external agency like fans or blowers, we are forcing the fluid to flow. So we will consider the velocity. But in free convection, as we are not forcing the fluid, we don't consider the velocity, and that's why this Nusselt number is not a function of Reynolds number, but it is a function of Grashof number GR and Prandtl number. Right? So this can be asked in objective question in 1 marks, that in free convection Nusselt number is a function of which two numbers? Reynolds number Prandtl number or Grashof number Prandtl number? So the correct option will be Grashof number and Prandtl number. Right? So we will now see what the equation of this Grashof number. See, from examination point of view, the free convection is less important. So till now they have asked question from the forced convection itself. So all the Nusselt number formulas that we have discussed, all those cases that flow over the flat plate or flow through pipes, those were for forced convection itself. But we will just have an overview of this free convection. So in free convection in first class we have already discussed, this free convection occurs due to the density difference. So let's say there is a table, and on this table some hot substance is kept. Let's say it is a block, hot block, right? And in this atmosphere there are some air particles. So these air particles are surrounding this hot block. So what happens? These air particles, they are cooler than this hot block, right? So these air particles take heat from this hot block, their temperature will increase, the temperature of air particles will increase, and we know this temperature is inversely proportional to density, right? So this temperature will increase, density should decrease. So these air particles, they take the heat from the hot block, their temperature increases and their density decreases. Now these air particles tends to move upwards, because whenever there will be a density difference, there will be some buoyancy effects. So the air particles which have become lighter, they will tend to move upwards, right? And the air particles which are farther away from this hot block, their temperature is less and their density is high, so they will come downwards and they will fill this space, right? So we have discussed this will happen in this surface also, and this is known as convection current, right? So this forms convection current, and this phenomena is occurring due to what? Due to density difference, right? Or due to buoyancy effects. This phenomena will occur, similar phenomena, whenever there is a cold block also. So let's say there is a table and you are keeping a cold bottle over it. Okay, so just you have removed this from refrigerator and this is very cold. Now what will happen? The air particles which are in the close vicinity of this bottle, their temperature is more than this temperature of this bottle, right? So now the T air is more, right? Now what will happen? The air particles which are in contact with this bottle, they will lose heat to this bottle, right? And when they will lose heat, their temperature will decrease and their density will increase, correct? So now reverse phenomena will occur and the air particles will tend to move downwards because their density is decreasing, correct? So here what was happening? Due to density difference, the air particles were moving upwards, but when they are cooled, the air particles were moving downwards, correct? And this is also happening due to the density difference. Now we can take an example of this case. See, whenever you see the refrigerator, let's say this is our refrigerator. Inside there is a freezing compartment, right? And if you closely see, the freezing compartment is always at the top side of this refrigerator. So this is for your ice, right? This is the freezing compartment, and this will have all the evaporator coils, right? So over it will have the all evaporator coils. So why this freezing compartment is placed on the top of refrigerator? Due to this phenomena, right? The air particles which will come in contact with this freezing compartment, their temperature will decrease and their density will increase, right? And because of this increase in density, now these air particles will move towards the bottom, and then they will cool all the substances that are kept in this refrigerator, right? So generally the substances that we are keeping in the bottom, let's say some vegetable, because there will be some vegetable box, so they do not want very low temperatures, right? That's why this vegetable box is kept at at bottom, and these air particles which are having high density, they will come and they will cool this vegetable, right? Similarly, whenever you see the split ACs, they are also installed at a height, right? This is also because of free convection. So when the air particles which are in the close vicinity of that split AC, they will lose the heat, their temperature will decrease and the density will increase, so that they will float to the bottom of this room and they will cool this room throughout, right? Now we will see this Grashof number. So we have seen in case of free convection, the Nusselt number will be a function of Grashof number and Prandtl number. So let's see what is a Grashof number. So this Grashof number is a ratio of the buoyancy force to the inertia force, buoyancy force to the viscous force. Okay, while this Reynolds number was a ratio of inertia force to viscous force. So this Grashof number will be a ratio of buoyancy force by viscous force. This can be asked sometimes in GATE examination in 1 marks question. So that's why in free convection this part only is important. And the equation of this Grashof number is given by G into beta into delta T multiplied by delta cube divided by nu square. Okay, so this is the equation of Grashof number and you should remember this. So in this equation, this G is nothing but acceleration due to gravity. The value is 9.81 meter per second square. Okay, this beta is the coefficient and this is the coefficient of volume expansivity. Okay, so this beta is coefficient of volume expansivity that you may have studied in thermodynamics. Okay, beta is the coefficient of volume expansivity. This delta T is the temperature difference and this delta is the characteristic length. Okay, and this nu is the kinematic viscosity, you already know. So let's see what is this coefficient of volume expansivity. So this coefficient of volume expansivity beta, it shows the variation of volume with respect to temperature under constant pressure condition, and the equation of this volume expansivity is given by 1 by V into del V by del T at constant pressure, right? So it is showing the variation of pressure, variation of volume with respect to temperature at constant pressure, right? So this is the formula of coefficient of volume expansivity. Okay, so this is all about the free convection, and now we will solve the objective problems.